Good evening, everyone. The school board meeting is now in session. I welcome everybody that's here. It's great to see students here, and it's always great to see students and parents of students and our staff. We're very delighted that you're here. So we're going to begin by the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the moment of silence. So if you'll please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now for the moment of silence. Thank you very much. It is an honor to recognize the 2024 Waccamaw High School Girls Soccer State Champions.
All
Dr.
right.
Giles, yes.
It is definitely an honor. So Chairman Gaskins, members of the board, Mr. Price, District Administration, and our extended Georgetown County School District family. Again, this afternoon, I have the privilege of recognizing the 2023-24 Class 3A Waccamaw High Girls Soccer State Champion team, coached by Mark Sanchez. Mr. Eddy, our principal, Coach Johnson, athletic director, and Coach Sanchez are joining us now at the podium. I ask our board to please come forward and we can greet the members of this team and the program. So during the 2023-24 season, 19 ladies were members of this program, competing and winning numerous matches before ultimately being crowned champions. The team entered the state championship game on May 10th with a record of 17-6-1. After overcoming an almost 4-hour delay, yes, 4-hour delay, and with an active roster of only 14 players due to injuries, the Waccamaw High School girls soccer team defeated Powdersville 2-0 to win the title of Class 3A state champions for the second straight year. Additionally, 4 members of the team were named All-State players. They are Maris Jennings, Harper Royal, Lila Jennings, and Helene Gregory. Harper Royal was also selected to represent Waccamaw in the North-South All-Star Game on June 22nd, and Maris Jennings will represent Waccamaw in the Clash of the Carolinas All-Star Game on June 15th. Important to note, she is also the 3A Player of the Year. Team members, please come forward as your name is called. Sophie Jackson, Helena Gregory, Avery Milling, Addison Taylor, Maureen Rogers, Quinn Golden, Emily Lorenzo, Aubrey Kowalczyk, Cecilia Worcester, Lila Jennings, Ava Cavallino, Skylar Schoen, Lindsay Latimer, Grace Gibson, Megan Matthews, Hayden Hogan, Faith McNeil, Maris Jennings, and Harper Royal. Please join me in congratulating our team.
All right, let's kind of squeeze in a little bit. All right, on 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you and congratulations.
All right, way to go, girls. We hope you would like to stay for the rest of the board meeting, but if you don't want to stay, this is a good time to leave. Thank you. But we would love for you to stay. The first thing is our public comments. Just info about public comments. The entire public comment period is limited to 30 minutes. Comments or requests should be brief and to the point as possible, and shall not exceed 3 minutes and must not mention specific names or positions of students or personnel. If a member of the public has specific concerns regarding students or personnel, those should be brought to the appropriate supervisory personnel or board members privately. Further, persons commenting and members of the audience must remain civil and respectful at all times. Anyone violating these guidelines may be asked to leave the meeting. And this evening, we have one speaker, Ms. Nancy Crawford.
I'm back.
Okay.
Thank you for taking the time to listen. I actually have notes this time. I'm talking again about the itinerant nurse position. I thought that it was in the budget of option 3, but I noticed that it's not going forward with the changes and modifications that were done. So I'm here to plead again. We've had the 3-year position of the itinerant nurse through ESSER, which is now no longer because ESSER is gone. I don't know that you're aware, we only have 19 nurses. We had 4 vacancies this year. We have 9 sub-nurses, but really only 7 because 2 of the people that have been trained have never come in when they've been called. So we only really have 7, and of those 7, probably 4 that you can count on when we have a call-off, an emergency, sickness, birth, whatever. I also want to bring up the fact that we have other jobs that the itinerant nurse has done in the past of teaching CPI. CPI training, if you're familiar with that, is the crisis prevention training that is done for employees of the district to teach skills to prevent challenging behavior but also de-escalate situations. The itinerant nurse position is one of 2 people in the district that teach that class. They teach 10 people every month, ballparkish, and that was something that was it definitely is needed. And so with that position being gone, that's one less person to teach CPI going forward. If no one's available to work, of the 4 people that are available to work when we call, what will happen in the future for staffing for that school to have a nurse in it? Because without the itinerant nurse position, that person's at work every day. If someone calls out, has an emergency, needs to leave for whatever reason, she gets placed at that school. If we don't have that position, what's going to happen going forward if we don't have a nurse that's available to work, or the itinerant nurse position being gone, that position, they're not there to help. They do a lot of other things besides staff at other schools. They go through the immunization records reviewed. I had 580 students last year at my school that we reviewed every student's immunization record to make sure they were in compliance. When we have screenings done with Ori Tech, they help assist with getting the students down there with screenings. And then also when the screenings are all done, the first, second, third date, and then Lions Club coming in, all of that information is tabulated and put on the back of the green cards that are part of the students' permanent records. We do sign off on the LPN's nurses' notes, no different than you do in the hospital. That has been that way for 41 years that I know of, that we always do that kind of signage to cover what they've done with the students. We've had I know everything's an RN position, but we've had 2 LPNs, or 1 LPN that covered for pregnancy leave at Pleasant Hills at the beginning of the school year and also covered Maryville for the last end of this year. So saying they need to be an RN, I kind of going to say that this person that we currently have, not that I'm going to name any names, but they can come in and take over my school and do the job that I do. So thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. The next thing on the agenda is approval of the minutes. You have received the minutes. Is there a motion to approve them?
So moved.
It's been moved.
Second.
It's been second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The minutes are approved. The next is the adoption of the agenda. Before we adopt the agenda, I move that the board add an item to the agenda for executive session for the purpose of discussing an administrative personnel matter. Because no final action will be taken tonight, the board does not need to take a vote to determine whether this constitutes an exigent circumstance pursuant to FOIA. In order for this to pass, we must have a 2/3 majority of voting members present to add the item to the agenda. That means 6, that would change. There's only 8 of us this evening, so I think we would need 5 to approve it. So I move that the board add an item to the agenda executive session for the purpose of discussing an administrative personnel. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion? Hearing none, I call for the question. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say no. The item has been added to the agenda under executive session. Next is the approval of the minutes with the new item included of the agenda, excuse me. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
It's been moved. Second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say no. Moving on to our discussion about cell phones, we have invited Principal Jenny Haynes to talk to us about what the policies are at Waccamaw Middle School. Thank you for being here this evening.
Thank you so much. Good evening.
Good evening.
I want to thank you so much for allowing me to be here. I hope you're all doing well. These are the rules and guidelines that Waccamaw Middle School put into place 2 years ago. So I'm going to take you through the process of how we developed that together, and then I'll answer any questions at the end if you have any. The first thing that we determined is after my full first year, let me do this, my bad. After my first full year, I usually have a chat with Haynes day where I'm able to get feedback from my faculty and staff. It happens during December and in May. There's a Plow, Sow, Grow feedback form, and they also get a chance to come in and sit with me during the day. One of the things that we continue to hear repetitively were the problems with cell phones and how much teachers were having to deal with that. We didn't really have a rule. We just said you couldn't use it, so it would be in their back pocket, things like that. And so also in terms of looking at our discipline, that was a big factor as well. So in the summertime, my admin team, we get together. We did it yesterday from 8 to 4. We usually kind of go through kind of how we're going to start the year, review the feedback from the midterm and the final year, and also we usually have a sheet what to change for next year that we start at the beginning of that year, and so we went through that. And cell phones, again, became a continuous conversation. So what we noticed was the why. Why are cell phones a problem? One of the biggest things that we saw was that it really exacerbated cheating with the use of cell phones. The first thing that we noticed was a lot of students had their earbuds, their AirPods, and so it was actually a kind of a congruent thing, was that the students would make a call when they knew that they were going into a test, and you can secretively kind of say the question, and whoever they're talking to, whether it's in another classroom or even off campus, can look up the answer and they can do it right then and there. We also saw that students were taking pictures of the test and then shooting that out to a lot of their friends throughout the school day. We also saw that there's a lot of math apps where you can take a picture of the math problem and it'll work it out for you. So we saw that happening a lot. So that was the biggest thing with cheating, is that we saw, I had no idea. These kids are really smart, but how much the cell phones were involved with cheating. The other thing is we saw a constant increase of class disruption, lack of engagement. It's a constant thing, and now everybody has smartwatches. So your phone's going off with a vibration, your watch is going off with a vibration, and it's a constant, and you want to check it. So it became a lack of engagement for our students. Social media is a big thing, and so they were wanting to get on that, and Snapchat is notorious for creating major drama, and so being able to respond to those things during class, or get out of class to go make a TikTok video in the bathroom, we saw a lot of that disruption and lack of engagement, so where it was impacting the teachers' teaching. We saw social media drama and behaviors, recording other students inappropriately, taking pictures of students without consent and sharing that. A lot of these students will go on and take pictures of themselves or take pictures of their friends, and they'll shoot it out through Snapchat and say, rate this person. And so we saw a huge decline in self-confidence, a huge increase in mental situations with our students, especially at the middle school level. And so social media drama, behaviors, as well as just taking videos, inappropriate pictures, things like that, we saw that a lot. So that was the why, in terms of why we wanted to discuss this. The what became, after reviewing the feedback from the Plow, Sow, Grow, the Chat with Haynes days, and also just the admin feedback and disciplinary actions, we determined that cell phone was the biggest problem that we had that was allowing all of this to kind of run in and out. The admin team then created a no cell phone, no device, no Bluetooth headphone rule for Walkmall Middle School. We created a list of disciplinary actions that went along with that. So again, in June is when we start creating that, and then from there, we then determined how we were going to move forward with that. We then presented that to our Warrior Board, which are our department chairs, and they look at it before school even starts, before the teachers come back. They look at it, they give us their feedback. We were able to make adjustments at that point. From there, we then brought that to our faculty during the beginning of the year PD days. We were able to make adjustments then, able to answer any questions, get on the same page. Everybody was in full support of where this was going, and then we began to advertise. I created a video, we put it on social media about the new rule. We put it in our open house, our 7th grade orientation. We put it in an email that went out to parents. We put it in any kind of information that we were sending out, whether it was through mail, social media, or email. We also announced it at our first day of the year school assembly, so students heard it then, and they also heard it during our grade level expectation meetings. So within the first month of school, our students and our parents heard it repetitively. We also gave a grace period, which we allowed, and we normally do it with tardies, things like that. Hey, I need you to get to class on time for like the first 2 weeks of school. So there's no disciplinary action that happened, so that we can really become, really helpful with that. Then we put it in our handbook. Now this, again, the handbook comes out from the district. This came out before, the district one came out after this one. So there was a little bit of adjustments that we're going to have to make. So we had in there, no phones, Bluetooth headphones, and unauthorized devices will be allowed outside of student lockers during the school day. So at the same time that we created the cell phone rule, we also created the no book bag rule. Students could bring their book bags on campus, but they had to leave them in their locker before the first block. They could go to their locker at Warrior time in the middle of the day, and then at the end of the day they can take their book bags home. So their locker had to hold their book bags and their belongings, including their cell phone and their Bluetooth headphones. We allow wire headphones, but no Bluetooth headphones. At the same time, we then implemented e-hall pass, so no changing transitional bathrooms, which really helped just a lot of the drama that we were seeing. This is one of the ways that we communicated with our parents and our community. It says no cell phones or smartwatches to be used on campus at any time. We have a lot of students that have smartwatches. I have a smartwatch, that's totally fine, but when you start to use it as a communication device, that's when it comes into play. Keep your cell phone off and put it in your book bag to be kept inside your locker while out on campus during school hours. Bluetooth headphones are not allowed on campus at all times. If a cell phone, smartwatch, or AirPods are confiscated, it will be taken to the front office and a parent will be called to come and collect the device. So what we did after the first year this past summer is we created a tracking letter. And so what that does is it's a tracking form. It kind of goes through the consequences that we had, and on the very first time, they then have to sign where they understand what the next time is. And so it goes all the way through. So students are aware, the students are able to get it the first time on their own at the end of the day. The second time, the parents have to come up and they see this as well. So it is, again, very transparent for our parents in terms of what we're doing. The next was the win. So we have had the no cell phone rule for 2 years now. This was the past year was our second year. We've seen a dramatic change in discipline, classroom engagement, and test scores. And so in looking at before, in 2017-18, I was not at Waccamaw Middle School at this time, but you can see that we had a below average of 33. And this is when cell phones were 100% big into our students' hands. We move into 2018, 2019, we went up, but we still had an average score of 36. 1920 was COVID year, so there was no school rating. 2021, there was no school rating, and that was my first year as principal. The next year was 21-22, and that is when we saw an increase. That was the first year after COVID where we were able to jump up a little bit to 43. So the next year, this was our first year. 22-23 was our first year of no cell phones, and you can see a huge increase from the year before where we had 43 points on average in our school report card to now 67. This past year was our second year of implementation with the no cell phone. We don't have a whole lot of pushback from our parents because we're widely communicating and very transparent with that. You're going to have some, I understand that, but overall we've had a very positive interaction with a lot of our parents. A lot of our parents are appreciative of us not having cell phones, and so it's kind of like you take it as it comes. So sometimes you have a great conversation and the parents are like, actually, can you just keep it for a few more days? And we're like, sure, it's in the vault. So we kind of go with it from there. So that's kind of my information. That's kind of what I have. There are other counties. I just saw yesterday that Ohio State is now adopting the no cell phone. They put out an article just yesterday that they are doing no cell phones the entire school day. So it's becoming more widespread around just the nation, and so that's kind of where we are. Any questions?
Do you see with your staff using cell phones during the day? Has that gone down too?
It has. We address that as well at the same time. If we're going to expect, we have to inspect, and so we have to also model. So that comes into play, especially when we do our observations. We do those quite often at our schools, so we do have those conversations. We also had to have a really transparent conversation with all of our faculty. If we're gonna do this rule, we all have to do it together, because if we don't, it's gonna pit teachers together. Well, she lets me use my cell phone and she doesn't, so now I'm mad at this one and I love this one, and that's not really fair. So we did have to address teachers or faculty and staff that were not compliant with what we decided was gonna be the rule for Waccamaw Middle School. And when you do it all together, you're all together in it. And so usually I'm the one that falls on the sword where you're the mean person that took away our cell phones, and that's fine. But in terms of all of us buying in, we really did all buy in, but we address it specifically to people that just like you do with any kind of discipline situation, you address it with the people that need some addressing.
Yeah. Good work.
Hey, I got a question. I see the plan is good. It looks like it's working great. My one question is, when I saw confiscate for 30 days, can we legally confiscate somebody's property for 30 days?
So,
just a question.
Absolutely. And no, we cannot. And so the only one that we actually did this year, we were told to give back, and so we did. But again, the handbook that we copied was from the district. Now, they made a change at the end of last summer, so that is going to make us change our policy, or rules, excuse me, it's not a policy, but rules, if the district does not create a policy to support that. So we did not have any pushback in terms of confiscating a phone, except for one, and we were told to give that back. So we're going to have to go back. Education's got to be fluid, because it's got to be to where you have to look at things all the time and monitor and adjust. And so that's one of the things that that we've got on our list to do this summer, is to go back at the rules and the consequences and look at what that's going to be, because we don't have a board policy that's going to support that.
So you'll be looking at this policy again for the next year?
Yes, sir. We're looking at this right now. It's on our agenda. We started the conversation yesterday, and we'll finish it on Thursday.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
thanks.
Ms. Haynes, how do you make sure that all teachers are adhering to the policy?
We really haven't had a whole lot of problem with that. And the reason why we haven't is because everybody's having the same problems. And so again, what we're constantly doing is you have to go in and out of your classrooms. Same thing if you want to know what they're teaching, you got to be in there to hear it. You got to see what's going on in your PLC and your data meetings, but also the kids talk, and they will tell, sing like a canary whenever they need to. And so we have a lot of conversations. It is please come out to our lunch and recess. It is loud, but it is a beautiful thing, because they don't have cell phones. They are talking. And so we listen to a lot of the feedback. Parents will tell you, teachers, other teachers will tell you. And so that's kind of how we've been able to kind of really mandate and make sure that everybody's on the same page. Because again, if we all said at the beginning of the year that this is what we are going to do, when did you change your mind? And when you did change your mind, when did you let anybody know? And that's the conversation that we've had, and it's really been fixed quickly, because again, everybody bought in, because it was a team decision. It was not a Jenny Haynes kind of thing.
Well, I would just like to comment too. Ms. Haynes mentioned the Ohio law that just passed. I've been doing a little research, and this is a movement.
Yes.
Australia as a country has banned cell phones in public schools and private schools. China has, Russia has, Greece has, Sweden has. So it's moving. And of course, South Carolina legislature is looking at this too. But I had one other question I thought about. Are you getting any feedback from parents and or students about the difference in behavior at home? Or what's going on? Is behavior changing at home, or are they doing different things than they did otherwise?
So I'm not really sure about behavior in terms of specific conversations that I have, but the conversations that I have had have been very appreciative, because it's not an attachment to their body. They see that they can do without it. Even when, at recess, when the equipment's taken away because they didn't put it up the day before, they then have a shoe, and we're now playing toss the shoe across, the yard. But so parents have been very appreciative overall of the no cell phone rule that we have. And again, have been in full support of that. I haven't had any specific conversations in regards to how it's changed for them at home, but just very appreciative that has happened, and that their students are able to communicate more, problem solve more, interact more, and just, get their head up a little more. So that has been a huge conversation that we've had multiple times throughout the 2 years that we instituted this with parents.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you coming here.
Absolutely. Y'all
Please
have a
feel
great
free
night.
to stay for the whole meeting.
Oh, it would be fun, but I have got VBS, and I'm in charge of singing, so thank y'all so much.
Next is update on the superintendent search. I'll be very short. Last Friday, the advertisement went out. I think all current sitting superintendents in the state of South Carolina got notification, and executive directors from other states got notification. South Carolina School Board Association has a database of potential candidates. They were notified. It will be advertised in eFocus. I'm not familiar with that magazine. South Carolina SCBA, I don't know I can't remember all these acronyms. It went to like several different organizations nationally as well. As of Sunday night, 167 people had completed the survey that's online. I hope each of you have done it, and I encourage the audience to do that survey. And coming up next week, On June the 11th, from 6 to 7 p.m., we'll have an input session at Andrews High School and Georgetown High School from 6 to 7. And on June 12th, a public at Carvers Bay Early College and Career High and Waccamaw High on June 12th. And also during the days on June 11th and the 12th, we're inviting staff members throughout the district to come in. And on June 12th from 1 to 2, we got municipal organizations, Georgetown County government, Andrews, City of Georgetown. Council members have been invited, nonprofits, retired teachers at another time, but I think we've covered it. We've reached out a lot. Amanda has done awesome work on this. Thank you, Amanda. I really appreciate it. But that's where we are. And as before the advertisement went out, Judy LeGrand already had like 3 inquiries because the word of mouth it's spreading. Next, we're going to turn it over to Ms. Thompson. Letter of support for the South Carolina Parks, Recreation, Tourism Property Acquisition in Georgetown County.
Yes. Good evening, Chairman Gaskins, members of the board, Mr. Price. This is similar to some other incidents that we've had in the past where the South Carolina Department of Parks, Recreation, and Tourism requires the Administrative Procedures Act from the state requires that they receive consent from both the county and the school district in which a piece of property is located before they can receive that property. So all this is that there's a piece of property that adjacent to other pieces of property that you've already given consent for. It's all part of this Weyerhaeuser tract out in the Andrews area where it says that it's located east of the town. The Parks and Recreation Tourism Department is seeking to acquire this land through a donation so that they can increase the Black River Water Trail and State Park, the access and the overall size of that park. So again, you have to give consent before they can acquire this land, and so does the county. And the county has already given their consent. They've already issued their letter of support. And what we have attached is a draft letter of support dated for the next meeting if you all choose to provide that support. So we would be able to give them a letter pretty quickly and let them move forward if you all choose at the next meeting to vote so that they can acquire this property.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we go to Lisa Johnson and Mr. Street. The budget, the fun part.
Yeah.
Chairman Gaskins, board members, and Mr. Price. Tonight we've got the draft of the general fund budget for 24-25 based on the information that we currently have available, as well as your input from the last meeting. We have not at this point received any additional information on what our state funding will be, so if something changes drastically, we can always come back in July or August and ask for a budget amendment or make any changes that we might need to make at that point. We'll go into it. Again, we are right now at 121.1 mills. Tonight, we have, we're asking the board to give us the go-ahead to advertise for a 5.9 mil increase, which would take us to 127 mills. The current estimated cost of a mill to the taxpayers would be $6 per $100,000 of assessed value on second homes, businesses, and rentals. You can go. The next page is, again, where we showed you the millage that was available. Out of you have 7.1 available for 24-25, so you would have 1.2 mills left if you approve the 5.9. And again, these are your priorities from your retreat. We believe our budget recommendations really meet a lot of the goals at the top of your list. We tried to make sure we prioritize those things. So we are presenting what at the last meeting was option 3, based on your discussion. We've got $9.2 million with the 5.9 mils of additional revenue. That would take our budget to, revenue budget to $117,402,920. That's an 8.5% increase in our revenues. And that's also still including the $2 million budgeted from fund balance. The mandated increases, these are just the same that we presented last time to you. The numbers have not changed. $2,500 per step for teachers, as well as a step increase. Bus driver increase 3.5% in a step. Employer group health insurance premiums. And then the other items listed that are mandated by law. So the total mandated increases of $5.08 million represents 55% of our increase of our budget. The next page is the 2 items that the board had voted to approve previously. That represents 16% of our increase and is $1.4 million. And that's the interventionist and the college and career readiness coaches. The district practice increases are right at $1.6 million. That includes the increase in the nurses' salary scale, which also had already included their step increases. And that's 17% of the $9.2 million that we're asking to increase the budget. The department and school request, these are the 3.5% increase to the classified scales that will take the lowest hourly rate to $14.49, and an admin scale increase of 2%. And you can also see the other things, just they're exactly like you saw them last time. The $1.1 million is 12% of the total increase that we're requesting. So the general fund expenditure budget with these increases would be $117,402,920. Also the 8.5% increase, balanced budget. And you can see on the recap how it all works together to come up with those figures. The items funded, again, we funded on page 13 the items for from different reallocations and other funding sources, things we were able to include but not hit the general fund budget. And that is where we left it. So if you all have no further changes or have any questions, please let me know.
I think it looks good. I think we're,
Just a
Yeah.
question. The position in pre-K, in the class that we're moving from Andrews to Sandpit, have we had a decrease in our pre-K students at Andrews and an increase at Sandpit, or how is that
Could I ask Dr. Green to address
trade?
that one?
No, we did not have a decrease. We had a number of students that we had to add to open a class at Sandpit, an additional class. But no, our numbers are still high at Andrews as well.
But the teacher the position that's being moved is not a pre-K teacher. It was another special area. Yes, ma'am.
Parapro position, okay.
yes, thank you very much.
Okay, just to follow up, that based on our discussion tonight, we will advertise right away to approve the budget at $117,402,920 with a 5.9 mil increase. And we need to have a meeting to have you do the public hearing and the adoption, so.
We're going to set that date for June 20th at noon,
Perfect, thank you.
and that's
We'll
the
be
first
ready.
action item, just to vote on that. So if you see, Action item 1, the administration recommends approval of having a special called board meeting to approve the 2024-2025 general fund operating budget.
So moved.
Moved.
Second.
Second. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The motion is carried. You've received the personnel list. The administration recommends approval of the personnel list as presented. Is there a motion to move it forward?
Second.
Second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I call for the question. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The motion is carried. Next is the board chair moves to grant authority for the interim superintendent to hire an individual of her choice to provide administrative assistance. Is there a second to that?
Second.
It's been moved? Was there a second?
Yes.
Okay, yes, sorry about that. Any questions? Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, so no. The motion is carried. The next items that we're going to just run through, just for the public information, is these policies were discussed in detail at our last board meeting, so we're going to go through these very quickly. Starting with number 4, the administration recommends first reading approval of policy IB, academic freedom, as presented. Is there a motion to move it forward?
So moved.
It's been moved, it's been second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I call for the question. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The motion is carried. The administration recommends first reading approval of policy ICA, school year calendar, as presented.
So moved.
It's been moved.
Second.
It's been second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I call for the question. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The motion is carried. The administration recommends first reading approval of policy ICFB, charter schools, as presented.
So moved.
It's been moved. Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I call for the question. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The motion is carried. The administration recommends first reading approval of policy ID, school day, as presented.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I call for the question. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The next is the administration recommends first reading to rescind policy IFB, curriculum pilot projects, as presented.
So moved.
It's been moved.
Second.
It's been second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I call for the question. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. The motion is carried. The administration recommends approval of the request to change pay dates for the 2024-2025 school year. This was presented to us at our last board meeting. Is there a motion to move? It's been moved.
So moved.
It's been second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Also, you have the board meeting dates for 24-25. The administration recommends approval of the 2024-2025 board meeting dates as presented. Is there a motion to move that forward?
So moved.
It's been moved.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I call for the question. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Also, you've received a list, applications for out-of-district transfer requests. The administration recommends approval of the Georgetown County residents' request for the release from the Georgetown County School District for 2024-2025 school year. It's been moved.
Second.
It's been second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I call for the question. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Next is board superintendent comments or requests. I would just like to say congratulations to all of our graduates last week, and I appreciate all of our board members who were able to attend the graduation. They were all excellent. Mr. Superintendent.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. I'd like to thank all of you for your support and leadership through another successful year, one filled with challenges and celebrations in a district filled with magnificent students, highly talented and dedicated educators, and supportive and engaged parents. Over the past couple of weeks, we have celebrated our accomplishments through awards programs, assemblies, and graduations. Thanks to the hard work of a lot of people, we were able to enjoy a successful school year. And I'd like to wish the class of 2024 all the best as they prepare for the next chapter in their journey. And for our returning students, I hope you enjoy your summer and get prepared for a successful launch when the first day of school rolls around on August 1st. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Next, we have an executive session for update on pending legal matter and for the purpose of discussing an administrative personnel matter. Is there a motion that we go into executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved, second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. We are now in executive session. Is there a motion that we come out of executive session?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Okay, we're out of executive session, and that ends our meeting. Thank you very much.